Welcome back to the It Brand, where we discuss the intersection of celebrity, consumer goods, influencers, and marketing. In each video, we'll deep dive into a celebrity owned or backed brand. My name is Jen, and today we're going to talk about an artist who you probably know because of her music. You might know her for her acting career. She's won Grammys, has best-selling records, had 14 number one singles. She's a fashion icon, a humanitarian, and she's the blueprint for what makes a successful celebrity brand owner. I am, of course, talking about Rihanna. Full name, Robin Rihanna Fenty, which I didn't know until I started researching this, and her brand, Fenty Beauty. So, as always, the opinions in this video are mine, grounded in fact, hopefully, and based on the research that I did. And if it's wrong, you can blame the internet. So I try to come at these videos with some point of view. Sometimes it's political, like Kim Kardashian, for example, Gwen Stefani. Sometimes it's less, like Hailey Bieber, and just the fact that I ended up kind of digging her as a person. With Rihanna and Fenty Beauty, I don't think there's a lot to explore that hasn't been explored yet, but I will say this. I think the brand could put just absolute crap out, like just total garbage for the next 5 years, and they'd still have an enormous amount of goodwill. That first Fenty launch, which we'll talk about, was so iconic and so thoughtful that subsequent launches, even those like not associated with their color cosmetics line, will succeed because of the halo effect of that launch. The other thing is many of the celebrities kind of turned brand owners that we've talked about on this channel clearly benefited from some form of nepotism. Kim Kardashian, Hailey Bieber, but Rihanna did not grow up wealthy or connected to fame or celebrity. She grew up in Barbados. She has 3 brothers and 2 sisters. And she has said that her father's alcoholism and other kind of substance abuse issues deeply affected her childhood and her parents' marriage. Her parents divorced by the time she was 15 years old. So in 2003, she formed a musical trio with 2 of her classmates. And the story goes that before they even had a name, even had any material, they auditioned for American record producer Evan Rogers. And he was very impressed with Rihanna in particular. So he invited Rihanna, only her, to the US to record some demos. One of those demos was sent to Def Jam Records, and Jay-Z, the president of Def Jam, invited her to audition for the label. So she signed with Def Jam in 2005 and started making bangers. She had singles like SOS, that reached number 1 on the US Billboard 100. In 2007, she really kind of catapulted into the stratosphere with her 3rd studio album. The lead single was Umbrella. Total side note, but the video of Zendaya's boyfriend, Tom Holland, is that his name? Dancing to that song lives fully rent-free in my head. So if you have not seen it, I cannot recommend it enough. Go pause this video, go check it out. So back to Rihanna. She consistently made music, putting out all kinds of hits through the 2010s. She's also had an illustrious, well, she's acted in things, right? So her first role was in a straight-to-DVD, Bring It On, All or Nothing. Totally amazing. She was in some other things, some with more success than others. You will be able to see her in the Smurf movie this summer, and she just put out a song for it. And equally iconic, her public image. She has managed to cultivate a really unique style, particularly when she shed this very like innocent teenage pop girl image for an edgier, sexier look. Carter Morley of The Guardian wrote that, quote, Rihanna's wardrobe is the most talked about, influential, and dissected in pop right now. And whatever she wears is, quote, immediately reproduced on the high street because it sells. You know, she's so known for her fashion that she's attended 8 Met Galas. So she made 7 albums with Def Jam and then signed with Roc Nation in 2014, which was Jay-Z's label, and put out her 8th, and as of yet, final album in 2016. She's been featured across a slew of singles from other bands and singers, Coldplay, Eminem, Kanye West, Calvin Harris, Shakira, and more. But she hasn't put out a studio album since 2016. She's been teasing a ninth studio album for almost a decade now, but so far we've been deprived. So she's received 9 Grammy Awards, has sold over 250 million records worldwide, won 12 Billboard Music Awards, along with 13 American Music Awards. She's been nominated for an Academy Award. She holds 6 Guinness World Records, including a record in 2010 for digital single sales. In 2023, she received an Icon Award at the American Music Awards, and the same year, she headlined the Super Bowl, which Nielsen Media Research said was the most watched halftime show in history. But of course, we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about her iconic role in Ocean's 8. No? Okay, whatever. I love that movie. 2 thumbs up. It's a great plane movie. If you know, you know. But okay, what we are really here to talk about is her wildly successful brand Fenty. But before we do that, I want to talk about other kind of beauty and business ventures from Rihanna, and then we'll get more specifically into Fenty. So in 2011, she launched her first fragrance, Rebel Fleur. Rebel is spelled REB''L. Fleur means flower. And then her second fragrance, Rebel, there's a theme going on here. That was in 2012. And also, I want to say this. So the early aughts and into the 2010s, a wild time for celebrity fragrances. Everybody was putting out fragrances. Jennifer Aniston, Antonio Banderas, David Beckham, Hailey Bailey, Beyonce, Justin Bieber, Grumpy Cat. You guys, Grumpy Cat has a fragrance. Lady Gaga, Fergie, Hilary Duff, Selena Gomez, and like just dozens more. I really do think that could be its own video that I might do someday, which is just on celebrity fragrances. So she put those out 2011 and 2012, and then she trademarked her surname for 2013 for use on various products. In 2014, Rihanna became the creative director of a fashion sportswear brand, Puma, overseeing the brand's women's line, which included collaborations and things like apparel and footwear. The following year, she released her first trainers with Puma, and it sold out online in 3 hours of its pre-sale launch. In March of 2015, it was announced that she had a stake in Tidal, a music streaming service. She also has her own label called Westbury Road Entertainment. It hasn't released any music on it yet. And also in 2015, she launched a beauty and stylist agency named Frame, spelled F-R, the number 8, M-E. She also opened a photo agency called A Dog Ate My Homework. Okay. So now let's get to Fenty. The timeline of the Fenty brand is a little confusing, so let's run through that first. So in September 2017, Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty under the luxury fashion group LVMH, which stands for Louis Vuitton, Moet, and Hennessy, a conglomerate that manages just a whole slew of luxury brands like Fendi, Celine, Louis Vuitton, Marc Jacobs, Sephora's under there, Tiffany. And like so many aspirational brands are all under this umbrella, and not just all fashion, beauty, jewelry, champagne. Fenty Beauty was developed under their Kendo division, which is an incubator for white label products through Sephora. So in 2018 then, she launched a lingerie brand named Savage times Fenty, or Savage X Fenty. In 2019, Rihanna launched Fenty as a fashion brand. In 2020, she launched Fenty Skin, and in 2024, so really recently, she launched Fenty Hair. And one aspect, or kind of one mission that links all of the Fenty brands together, is the desire to include all skin tones, all skin types, all body types, all hair types, etc. And anyone who's been paying attention for the last 5 years knows how popular this brand is. So let's talk about why. I have kind of 5 aspects that I think the brand has done really well that have made it so popular. 1, embracing diversity. 2, product efficacy. 3, their environmental commitments. 4, their partnership with global reach. And 5, marketing. So let's talk about these. Embracing diversity. The launch of Fenty Beauty and what set the standard for all that has come after in the last 8 years or so, I think this is the most important equity the brand has, its commitment to diversity. There's definitely something to say about the brand's equity kind of aligned with Rihanna, of course. Rihanna's cool, she's sexy, she's confident, she's smart. So I think the brand was probably going to be successful built off of her presence alone. But to compound that, to add to that with a really thoughtful, truly novel and inclusive launch, made the brand like iconic overnight, really. They have so much goodwill built into their product line from that first launch. And we need to kind of start at the state of beauty before Fenty launched in 2017. So this is from a British Vogue article. Quote, from unrealistic beauty ideals to the blatant lack of representation reflected in campaigns and product offerings, the beauty industry's relationship with diversity was problematic at best. The messaging, essentially, if you don't fit an age old Eurocentric idea of beauty, you're not welcome, was the white elephant in the room of a tone deaf business. Afunmi Feto, in her book Palette, the Beauty Bible for Women of Color, talks about when she tried the darkest shade she could find, called Biscuit, and realizing that no one in the brand had her skin color in mind, and the crushing shame it produced in her. And she's not alone in this experience. In 2014, the New York Times published an article, Makeup That Addresses the Many Shades of Women, and noted brands like Lancome may boast of 30 skin shades, but only 5 of them are for women of color. From a Racked article in 2015, quote, in the beauty industry, brands often divide skin tones into 2 categories, general and ethnic. This is Karen Chambers. She was the director of product development at Iman Cosmetics. Quote, there is not a broader sense of inclusiveness that recognizes that women are really a single category. That same year, Cosmo published an article, Why Are Women of Color Still Having Trouble Finding Foundation? Where Andrea Atterbury writes, quote, while there were dozens of shades, not one suited my olive undertones. I knew from years of trial and error that once applied, those pale shades would give me that trashy, ashy look. In 2016, Clover Hope wrote an article called The Makeup Industry's Frustrating Cycle of Struggle and Progress for Women of Color. Quote, the problem I and many other women of color face on a regular basis is surviving that experience again and again in any industry where makeup is predominantly default white. And just as an aside, I will link all of these below as per usual so you can see them. In an Elle article in 2018, Narisha Penrose writes, quote, I've spent a lot of time making things work when it comes to my foundation routine, like mixing 2, sometimes 3 different shades to match my dry, neutral-toned skin. My dresser became filled with foundation bottles from high-end to drugstore, matte to dewy, powders to liquids, you name it, I've tried it. Now, the earlier mentioned Feto that I talked about in that Vogue article and her book also talks about it not really being about the foundations at all, right? And so she's saying it's about the feeling of being seen, of being represented, and how critical that Rihanna saw this lack of representation, saw Black and brown women being penalized by Eurocentric